Don't Believe the Hype Show.
Every Thursday, fortnightly.
For news, views, reviews and more.
Join host Barry Kelso and guests from 6:30 p.m. Thursdays, fortnightly.
Don't Believe the Hype Show. Don't Believe the Hype.
Good evening, everyone, and we have got another wonderful and amazing guest, Christina, who's here because open enrollment is getting ready to start in a few weeks' time, and I decided that a lot of us need to know about open enrollment because this is not just about you getting insurance, it's about you getting the right coverage for you, your loved ones. So before I go in and start talking to Miss Christina, I would like to thank everyone that's helped us to get to where we are today on the Don't Believe the Hype show, like PLT Massage and Wellness, Worldwide Entertainment TV, and all the other people who have come in and helped and who have made our show successful. I would like to tell you all thank you. Today, as I said, we are going to be talking about open enrollment, but before I get into the open enrollment, I need you all to understand that today is the North Texas Day of Giving, and this is a one day you can donate to your favorite charity, and charity begins at home. So I would love for all of you, even just to donate, if it's $10, $20, you don't know how much of a big help it would be to our organization, where we cater to women and young girls recovering from domestic violence, abuse, sex trafficking, cancer, any life-altering situation that they are going through right now. We are seeing an increase of women that are coming in, even with mental issues that they've got going on, family dynamics. And remember, this is a season where a lot of women are going to be going through something, because this is also football season, and that's when you will see an increase of domestic violence, sex trafficking, and a lot of other traumatic things that will be going on during football season. So please take time out to go to Purple Light Touch and just give to the North Texas Day of Giving. Just look on their Google Purple Light Touch Foundation, you will find us. So without further ado, I am going to get into the show because I am so interested to find out about open enrollment. No, I am not 65 years old, but many of my family and my friends are getting into that 65-year-old bracket, and this is something that is important because there's been new changes, new laws, new things that are happening that you all need to be aware of before it's too late, and so you can make the right decisions for you. So Miss Christina, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and you can talk to me or you can talk to the camera.
Great, thank you, Valerie, for having me. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
It's an honor that you asked me to come today. About myself, well, first let me start by saying, because you said you're not 65 yet, you don't have to be 65 to have Medicare.
Okay.
Yep, crazy question, crazy answer, but a lot of people don't realize I actually have children on Medicare who are disabled, people who have kidney disease and have to be on, your kidney dialysis machines can get Medicare. So it's not necessarily 65, but that's a myth that a lot of people do believe. But yeah, you can actually be younger. I got into this ministry, and yes, I said ministry because...
So before you go into your ministry, tell the people who you are.
Okay, I am Christina Bowman.
Yes.
I am a Medicare insurance specialist.
Okay.
I specialize in helping my seniors protect themselves, not just get a plan.
So how long have you been doing Medicare?
Medicare specifically, I'm going on over 5 years now.
Okay.
I got into it because of my father.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your father, and then you can go back into your ministry. Just
Okay.
take your time. Don't
She
rush.
knows I'm passionate about this.
Don't rush.
My
Right.
father had a major head injury.
Okay.
Horrible, heart-wrenching, was in ICU, had to have brain surgery, tubes coming out of both sides of his brain to drain blood. It was traumatic. And while at the hospital, I was going back and forth daily, taking care of my mom, taking care of my dad, slept at the hospital. My mom made the comment, I gotta get him home. I said, I don't understand why. I can't afford this. I said, wait a minute, he's in ICU. He needs to get better. We need to be concerned about his care and getting better, not about going home. But it wasn't just once, it was continually, I can't afford this, I can't afford this. And I said, nobody at that point in my mind, no one should ever sit there and have to say, I can't afford something and have fear in their mind, instead they can say, I have a way to take care of this, I'm good, I'm comfortable, I've got this. And worry about healing instead.
So, did your mom take your dad home, or did he?
He actually was in the hospital for quite a while. I was living there, my sister, we took turns, we didn't want to leave him alone. And it was about a week, then he went over to skilled nursing because he qualified, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay.
He got an infection because they didn't administer his medications, sent him back to the hospital again, back to skilled nursing because he qualified again. But it was quite an ordeal. Thankfully, we got him home, but there was some long-term effects with this as well that are impactful and can affect things that he can't qualify for now because of that brain injury.
Okay. So, so you just told us a little bit about why you got into Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you so different from everybody else?
I don't.
Or you feel that you're different from everybody
For me, it's not about being an insurance agent. That is what I do, but I do that because it's my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so much more to it. I go into homes where people are trying to make decisions and they don't understand it. I believe that education is important, that giving somebody knowledge, they can make the right informed decision for themselves. And that's important with my clients. I don't want them to be pushed into something because somebody calls you on the telephone, or push into something that takes 5 minutes to enroll in. You need to understand what you have. You need to take that time with somebody. I want to have that relationship with my clients. They've called me from the hospital bed. They've called me before surgery. Hey, can you put me on your prayer list? So just having that relationship, I don't want to be a one-time, what I call a shop and drop agent, where you come in, you sit for somebody, they never hear from you again. That's not about me. I send out a postcard every year to my clients, let them know I'm still here to service you. My clients call me throughout the year. I return my clients' phone calls. It's important to have that relationship with your clients, not just being an agent.
So I take it you're very passionate and you love exactly what you do.
I love what I do. I love being able to know when I've walked out of a home that I've covered the things that can really hurt my clients with them, to go over things that I've been told by clients that nobody's ever taken the time to even tell them, to even show them that there's other options to help them with some of the things that they may be facing down the road that they're not even prepared for and don't even know it.
So let me ask you a question. I know we're in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do other states as well with Medicare, or is it just your local area?
No, it's not just my local area. In fact, I travel every week for my job. I have clients in Missouri. I have clients in New York. I have clients in East Texas, Oklahoma. I'm licensed in several states, and then I have some clients. I literally had a client last week that said, Christina, I have to move. It's a state I'm not licensed in. I said, tell me when you're moving. Let me get my reciprocal license and I'll help you there, because she didn't want to change agents. I said, I can help you. So if it's something I'm not licensed in, I can talk to you about, okay, let me get licensed and help you in that area. But there's many areas I'm already licensed in.
So you go out of your way to get licensed just so you can help the clients?
I do. I've clients that, I have one, for instance, got my name and number because he had been on a retirement plan, but the retirement plan was becoming astronomical in fees. And they got my name and number from one of my existing clients. It was a referral. I drove literally all the way out to Abilene, Texas to sit with this client.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, spent hours with him. When he was done, he was thrilled because I had just gone down for several options, not one. I don't push anything, so I give you choices. And when we were done, he was happy. We enrolled in plans. But then came February, he's like, my kids are making me move to New York. What can I do? I said, he goes, I don't want a different agent. I've had different people over the years, and I haven't liked any of them. This is what he's telling me. I said, let me get licensed. Give me a week. I'll get licensed in New York. I'll help you with the plans, send you some things, get you to sign a scope, because if it's an advantage, you have to have a scope signed. Get it back from you electronically. Once I have that, we'll get on the phone. I'll send you some emails. We'll go over those plans together.
Okay.
So there's other ways I can help you as well.
So hear that. So how long does it take for you to get licensed?
Depending on the time of year, but normally, once you have your main license, which I do, which Texas is my, what they call residence license.
Yeah.
It's usually real easy to get a reciprocal license in another
Alright.
state. At a normal time of year, about a week, within a week. Sometimes I've gotten them back in 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
During annual enrollment, it can take a little bit longer because sometimes people are just going crazy, Medicare's going crazy, agencies are going crazy. So then that can be a little bit more questionable.
Okay, so let me ask you, you said that anyone can get Medicare, even though I'm not 60. I mean, yes, I am. I'm lying. I mean, I'm not 65, sorry. What's the difference between Medicare and the Advantage plan, or
Okay, that's a good question.
Medicare, there's another Medicare.
Yes, Medicare supplements.
Yeah.
Okay. So not just anybody can get Medicare. So again, somebody who's disabled can get it before 65. So let me be clear. So somebody who's like ERD, which is, with kidneys, children who have come out disabled, major car accident, quadriplegics, things like that. So with Medicare, there's Medicare supplemental, there's Medicare Advantage. Both are good. And it really depends on my clients because I do both sides. It doesn't matter. My goal is to make sure my client decides what's best for them.
Okay.
So with the supplemental, Medicare is actually primary. Then your supplemental is secondary, and it comes in and picks up what Medicare hasn't covered, that 20% per se. After you've paid your deductible for the year, this past year it was $226. You pay that, and then everything there's no longer. But you pay a monthly fee. Some people find that can get costly. And the downside to that, and I always tell my clients when I enroll them in Medicare supplement is, and make sure your agent tells you this if they haven't, every year you get an unbirthday gift with a Medicare supplement. I call it an unbirthday gift because nobody wants it. And that is, it's age-based. So you will get a rate increase every year for however you're on the Medicare supplement. Also, with a Medicare supplement, there's a lot of things you still need besides that supplement because you have to individualize package things. And what I mean by that is you have to get a drug plan independent. That's an additional cost. You have to get a dental plan if you want dental. Yeah. So you have to add things to it, cancer plans or home health care plans, things like that. So it's not just that supplement. You need to look at what else am I going to need. With an Advantage, a lot of people like those. A lot of people love them because they call them more of a fuller package. I don't call it that, but there's a pros to that. With the Medicare Advantage, your private insurance company is number one. So they then bill for it to you. Medicare has become secondary with that. So that's where a lot of people get those confused. With a Medicare Advantage, the advantage to them is you don't have that monthly fee that you pay every single month whether or not you use it. But you do have copays and things as you go along. Okay. So you may have this copay if you go to your doctor or your specialist or an MRI or CT scan. So a lot of people refer to that as a pay-as-you-go style type plan. The advantages to those are a lot of them include dental or they include vision or hearing. Some of those things that you don't get as the package with the other that you would have to purchase independently. So they do offer you a little bit more, but there's certain restrictions as well. Like, do you have a PPO or an HMO? Do you want to have to get referrals or not get referrals? Things like that.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. It is. I go through about 100 hours or more every year of training to stay current on everything.
That is a lot, and that's a lot because even Anita says, I need a strong drink and I don't even drink. You know what I mean? So
exactly. So if you're feeling that way, just think how many people make that decision on their own. If this is the plan I'm just going to choose, and they don't have all that knowledge to make that decision with.
I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm just on a massage. That was a lot. So that's why I wanted to do this show because a lot of clients, I see a lot of seniors, and I just want to make sure that they get the full benefits of what you're offering tonight. So I know that sometimes they do a give back plan.
They do.
So what
would I say about a give back plan?
Yes.
Pros and cons. There are some of my clients I've offered them because they've been good plans, and other clients I tell them no way. It depends on what the plan is and where it's at. And why I say that is everyone thinks, oh, I'm getting something back. I'm getting a Part B give back. What a Part B give back is, and since you're not on Medicare yet, is this year people paid $164.90 on average. And I say on average because it's based on your income level, what you made. So if you made a lot more money, you're going to pay higher. If you aren't, if you have subsidy on your income, low income subsidies, what they call it, then it may be less. So that's just the average. But what happens with that is with a Part B plan, let's say if you're monthly premium is $164.90, and somebody comes out and say, oh, we'll give you $100 give back. So that means you're only paying $64.90. It sounds great.
Yeah.
You're thinking I have an extra $100 in my pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you forgot to ask some real important questions to that.
And what's the question?
What's my max out of pocket? For instance, some of my clients might be on a max out of pocket plan that's $3,900, which means that's the maximum you'll pay per calendar year if something catastrophic happens. But let's say if a give back plan has a $10,000 max out of pocket, that could potentially be devastating if something serious hits you, if that makes sense.
Wow. And so a lot of people don't know this. There was a question I asked you earlier on. It was a lot of people lost their spouses through COVID.
Yeah.
And even when I was back in England, I saw a lady who didn't even know what to do because her husband was taking care of everything, and it became overwhelming for her that she got sick because
Yes.
she couldn't cope with all. She thought she just had a husband, but he was taking care of all the bills and the finances.
Right.
What happens? Do you ever come across anything like this?
More often than you would believe. And you know what? The thing is that you talked about it from the woman, the man making all the decisions. I've had it where the man is just in much trouble because the woman made all the decisions for them. So it's actually on both sides. Mm-hmm. So I see it often. There's been times I've literally held someone as they've cried because they had me come in and sit with them because they've never had to make that decision on their own. I've had people ask me to pray with them before the appointment, saying, help me to make a decision. Great, I'm happy to pray with you. Let's do it. I want to always help my client make the best choice for themselves and educate them so well that when they're done, they are 100% confident in what they have and the choice that they've made and why they've made that choice.
So if I'm already on Medicare and open enrollment is getting ready to happen in October, do I need to just stay on what I've already got, or do I need to consult somebody?
I really, truly think people should talk. If they don't already have an agent, find a good agent. It's important. My clients, I send them postcards every year out, and I specifically tell them, if you're happy and want to stay where you're at, fine. But if you want to check what's new, give me a holler, call me. And that's important because when I get those phone calls in, if there's a new plan that comes out that may have a Part B plan that's a give back, I may warn them. I may tell them, hey, remember this is what you have, but this is what's coming out with a new plan. Be aware, which also arms them. So if somebody's on a telemarketer calls them, they're not misled into a decision that might be a really bad decision for them. And I may have the opportunity to say, yeah, this is actually, look at what this offers versus what you have now. It may be a good choice for you.
Okay, the reason why I just left was because my daughter's all the way in England. And one day she called me and says, Mom, are you on the A plan or the B plan?
Okay, so let me explain what it is, because you have no clue.
I had no clue. I said, what are you talking about? She says, yeah, this Medicare thing keeps on coming up, and she's all the way in England. And it keeps on coming up, and she calls me out of the blue and says, Mom, are you on the A plan or the B plan?
Well, let me throw you another curve. There's A, B, C, and D. So let me tell you.
That's why I started to laugh.
It's
because that just triggered my head in my mind that my daughter's calling me just to ask me about what Medicare plan I'm on.
Right. So your Medicare Part A,
yes,
that's where a lot of people are entitled to Part A, meaning they've worked their 40 quarters and they got Part A with no cost to them. Part A covers your hospitals and things like that. Part B of Medicare, that's where you have to pay your premium, or unless you're on low income subsidy or more, that's that $164.90 that we talked about, and that's where you pay that. That covers like your doctors and your things like that. Then there's Plan C. Plan C is what they refer to when you have an Advantage plan, which means you have A, B, and D all in one package. And D, like it stands, the letter D stands for drugs. That's your prescription drug plan, which you need if you have a Medicare supplement, because you have to have a standalone plan. You don't get that. And you get penalized if you don't have a drug plan. So it's important to make sure you're working with an agent that covers you in all areas.
Okay. So that was A. So what is B?
B is when you go to your doctors and things like that.
Okay, and C?
C is the Advantage plan that's going to cover your A, B, and D usually in one package.
Okay, so Rachel, if you're watching, there you go. So what's D?
D is drugs. Think of
There you
D,
go.
drugs.
So A,
Prescription
B,
drug
C,
plan.
and D, Rachel. So you know, at the moment, I haven't got none of those. Okay. So I'm just letting you know, Miss Rachel, if you're watching tonight all the way in England, that's what Medicare is. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, so the 0800 numbers, they're always on TV. Call 0800 numbers.
Yes.
What's your take on calling the 0800 number?
I don't like them. I don't, because there's been so many times I'm sitting in a home with someone and it comes up on the TV, see there's the commercial, and then I get up and see these little fine prints and what it says here, and they're like, oh, yeah, it can be misleading. And here's the biggest problem. I have had clients who are on chronic plans with me. So let me pause and tell you what that means so you can understand how it fits together. A chronic plan might be something that nobody in the general public knows about, but you have to have a special chronic condition to qualify for it. You have to be an authorized to offer agent to even offer it to clients. So you may be talking to somebody on that phone who doesn't know that you're on a specialized plan that is not even available to the general public, that may be a really great plan, but they're going to tell you when you call that number, oh, this is going to be better for you, or let's put you here, without even giving you a comparison, or just because they want to make sure when that phone rings, they're not hanging up without a sale. Okay. Not doing necessarily what's always in the best interest of the client, but more looking out for themselves.
So I know Christine's just one agent, so if most of you have got an agent, find somebody that you trust, somebody that you know has got your best interests at heart. Mm-hmm. Like Christine said, it was because her dad was sick why she got into Medicare. I got into massaging because of what I know why I got into massaging, but it's not about me today. It's about Christina teaching each and every single one of you the real truth, because in October, trust me, some of you are going to be slapped in the face and you're going to be shocked and you're going to be thinking, who can I call? Is there a number that they can call if somebody wanted to call you? And is there a cut-off time? Because you know some people...
Right. And it's mostly business hours, like with anybody, but you can always leave a message after business hours, so that's not a problem. Yeah. My clients all have my personal cell phone, because nothing's worse than trying to call an 800 number and having to wait for 40 minutes to an hour. Leave your name, number, detail message. I'll always call my clients back. And even if you were saying, hey, I saw you on the show, or I got a referral, you know, my client told somebody else about me, I always call my clients. So you're not going to be left out there hanging.
So what does Medicare not cover?
So Medicare doesn't cover long-term or custodial care. So what that means, if you, let's say, got dementia later, or Alzheimer's, or you had a condition that's chronic, COPD is one of those chronic conditions, kidney disease, one of those chronic conditions, then that's going to be considered a long-term coverage. So if you need care, it's not going to be covered. So to get even skilled nursing, you have to have a 72-hour minimum hospital stay nowadays. And these hospitals, they kick us out fast. Okay. I've known people who've had heart transplants. I've known people who've had surgery just for a pacemaker even. Hip replacements. They're kicking people out fast. Most people aren't staying in the hospital 72 hours. I've had clients call me from the hospital bed, tell me, I qualified, I'm going to skilled nursing. They call me back and say, guess what, I just found out, no, I didn't qualify.
So, what you're saying basically, if you have got a plan, you have got to stay in hospital. Even if they want to kick you out, you've got to stay in there.
But most hospitals aren't going to keep you. Nowadays, they're not. I mean, you would be amazed what it takes to stay in the hospital. I've had clients call me and tell me, they told me I qualified, they were going to send me somewhere, now they're telling me I'm not qualified. What can I do? At that point, my honest question is, okay, let me pull up your account. Let's see if you got what we talked about. Because when I'm with my clients, every one of my clients, I talk about a home health care plan.
Okay.
It's very important for my clients that they have something they can fall on if things don't go right and they need care. Because if you get that answer of, oh, you have something chronic, so you're not going to qualify for this, how are you going to get care? Most families aren't where they can just quit their job and take care of their parents. It's just not feasible. So having a home health care plan where you can bring somebody in your home and help out, that's a skilled nurse and takes care of you, it's huge. And it can really get you out of a really bad predicament should you not qualify for something.
Do a lot of people know about this home care plan?
No, in fact, I've literally walked into homes, and when I've talked to my clients, and we're going over things that I offer, and we're talking about them, and they're like, what's the home health care? And I'm like, let me tell you about that, because that's important. I want my clients to understand home health care options. What it is, it's a plan that you can set up to help you, that can come and take care of you. I've heard stories where my clients have told me, and these are new clients that I'm sitting with, that their mouths are dropping up and they're shaking their head going, no. I'm like, what? Why didn't anybody before you tell me? I've had dozens of agents sitting here. Nobody's talked to me about home care. I had one tell me I spent over $80,000 in under a year taking care of my spouse because nobody told me something like this even existed. I've had another client that literally told me that her mom had a massive stroke. They said it was going to take her 9 months to fully recover.
Yeah.
But the sad part was, in order to get the care, they had to do what's called a spend down. Get rid of all of her money so she could qualify for Medicaid. Well, she was going to recover, but it was just going to take a while. But now the rest of her life, she's at poverty level. That's how she's going to have to live, because they had to get rid of everything. And her mouth dropped. She was in tears, and she said, had I only had that from my mom, but I promised my kids, I figure out how to not make this happen to y'all. I want this. Because that's how huge an impact it can make on people. I want to be able to sleep at night knowing I've told my clients how they can protect themselves.
So, this home care plan, is this a new plan, or has it always been implemented?
It's a plan that you just have to know about. A lot of agents out there, they are what I call captive agents. So a captive agent is somebody, for instance, you may call a phone number and talk to that specific company. They may work for that company and nobody else. So if you call me, you're going to say, Christina, what do I have for you? And I'm going to say, I have XYZ, or I'm a broker. I literally write for every major carrier out there. And so what happens when you're a brokerage firm, when you're working with a broker, is we have companies that come in and do their presentations to us.
Okay.
They talk about situations where people needed care, didn't have help, how to avoid those things. When I heard about home health care for the first time, my heart was just ecstatic, because I was like, this is what my dad really needed at that time. This is something how we had in place could have been a life-changing difference for us. To know that, okay, he's going to come home from the hospital. It's not going to be all my mom, who really is frail and couldn't take care of him as well. So it's real, it's sad that hardly anybody's out there talking about it. I sit down, and probably 9 out of 10 homes I sit with have never talked about it. They might have looked at long-term care, but a lot of them dismiss it because long-term care is way more expensive than home health care plans. And a lot of them say, I just couldn't afford that. So they stop looking too. But I tell all my clients, look, there's different packages. We can piece the package together, different levels, to find one that's in your budget. So that's the advantage of working with somebody who's a broker, because I've got way more to offer. So I'm going to offer you things that you're not going to find from just somebody who's this agent only.
So what about if somebody don't have Medicare? What happens then?
If they're over 65 and just didn't qualify for Medicare, not on it, or maybe foreign into the country, well, a lot of times you can go and purchase, depending on how long you're in the States, if you're a legal citizen, you can go purchase your Part A and Part B. So it may cost you more, because a lot of people don't know you can do that, but it is an option. Other people, I've seen people sadly have nothing. No, I've gone into homes, no insurance. I've seen other people who just have basic Medicare because they couldn't afford a Medicare supplement plan and didn't even know Advantage plans existed. That would be something more feasible for them and take some of that burden off. So with a Medicare supplement, if you have nothing, just basic Medicare with no supplement, you're paying 20% every time you go into the doctor, hospital, anything.
So what if somebody goes into hospital, thought they had a plan, but forgot to renew it, or because of the spouse was taking care of that plan, and they stopped paying the premium? What happens to that?
Well, if they're on a Medicare supplement, that's where you're going to have that kind of a situation occur more likely, because that's where they're usually going in. Maybe the husband was paying the bills, and I did in fact have that happen. I had a client that called me. She was a referral. One of my other existing clients gave her my number. And she said basically the same situation. Her husband passed away, and it was months before she figured things out. In that meantime, her plan actually had defaulted and it had expired, her supplemental plan. And she goes, "It's the middle of the year, I can't enroll in anything. What am I doing? Because I can't afford 20% every time I go in." Luckily for her, because I do know that there's other plans that you can offer, and there's also some special enrollment periods that people aren't aware of that they may qualify for. Chronic people can qualify for special enrollment, so you can kind of sometimes get them a year-round enrollment.
Okay.
She was one of those lucky people that fortunately qualified for something like that. So I was able to get her on a chronic plan in the middle of the year, and by the time I was left, she was just in tears of joy because she said, "I really didn't know what I was going to do because everything had just lapsed and canceled in the midst of all the turmoil and trials."
You know, in England, we get taken care of whether we got Medicare, no Medicare,
Right.
they're going to take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame to know that you're in such a called great America and the healthcare situation is, sorry, if it's, I don't know if sucks is a word,
It's a word.
right? I just don't understand how this country can be so cruel to a lot of people that if you haven't got something, you're just thrown out like trash.
Yeah, I understand that. I
You know what I
definitely
mean?
do.
Because it breaks my heart sometimes when I go into certain areas and I
Right.
see the brokenness. And if you haven't got that money, your family members are just left out on the street.
Right.
I went, you know, I used to do a lot before COVID. I used to go to care homes and look after people who had strokes or who were dying from cancer. And I remember going into one care home. The lady was in a beautiful home in a different city. Went over to see her. I thought she was going to die. She didn't die, but she couldn't get back into the old care home that she was in. They sent her to another one. And I don't know if they just didn't have the money, because the one that she was in originally was really nice, and they sent her to another one. And when I went in there and saw the conditions, right, it's not, I wouldn't want, if I was in that position, I would prefer you to, if you just euthanize me and just let me go.
Yeah.
So,
Now, there is an option. So if you're older and a lot of people with Medicare age, there's also something called Medicaid. Have you heard of that, or do you
that's
know
what
what
I was
that
going
is?
to ask you, because there's Medicare and there's Medicaid.
Yes. So the difference is, because that's one that is so often confused, and even I, before I did this daily, I was like, how do I really understand the differences and don't confuse the two? So for me, I came up with my own little analogy. Medicare, you're caring for the seniors and perhaps children who need extra care or need care. Medicaid, you are financially aiding, you're aiding them financially for those who can't do for themselves. So perhaps they can qualify for Medicaid, which can give them now some insurance so that they have some coverage, can go to the doctor and things like that. You can reach out to the Social Security office to see if you can apply, call the Medicaid services number. And it's one of those things that if you literally have nothing and you're in that position, it's not going to hurt you to at least try. The worst thing somebody can tell you is what? No. But if you don't try, you won't know.
So that's what I just wanted, why I wanted to do this show, because I know the importance of and making sure you take care of your health. I mean, I thank God, by the grace of God, I've been in good health. But who knows if tomorrow, next week, next year, something might change.
Right.
That I'm not in good health, but I know the basics of how to take care of me.
Right. Now, for you, you've been healthy. There's also what's called the marketplace. You have heard people say that. Some other people call it Obamacare insurance. I've heard these terms used by clients. It's just how people identify with it. That is another option. It does cost, though. So if you're in a situation financially, because there's some people who just can't pay that, then, and if you're that bad off, definitely see if you can qualify for Medicaid or get assistance, because there are, even for drugs, if you needed a drug that's extremely costly, there's a lot of my clients who, as seniors, you're living on a small budget. You're living paycheck to paycheck, and a spouse has passed away. You have that one paycheck now. You don't even have two. So there's ways to find out, they qualify for low income subsidy if they don't qualify for Medicaid? If not that, can they qualify for maybe assistance with their drugs? If not that, if they're on a high dollar drug, does one of the manufacturers of that drug offer a type of a drug program? Doctors have to fill out the paperwork for that, but those are options that are out there that a lot of people don't even know exist.
Because I went to, I think I was on the marketplace before. I'm on the marketplace, so I am paying something.
Right.
Don't know what I'm paying for, but I'm paying for something because I just thought something's better than nothing. You know what I mean? And you just mentioned the Obamacare. So the Obamacare, Medicaid, and Medicare, what's the difference between, well, you just told the difference in the two. So the Obamacare.
Obamacare is usually for those, in generally speaking, they're not quite 65, they're not into, or they're not 62, because some people do get Medicare at 62 now.
Okay.
They're getting it early. So if you're not qualifying or wanting to start your Medicare yet, that's where somebody might look at the marketplace or the Obamacare to see if they can get some type of insurance. I also have some friends that go into more like the, there's some Christian programs out there that have more of a, you sign up and pay, and it's like a copay type insurance.
Yes.
And you know what I'm, so there's other options out there for those. I don't personally do those. My specialty is helping out with the Medicare, Medicaid market.
Okay, so Christina, can you tell the people your name again, where they can find you, because you haven't told them where they can find you, or your phone number or anything?
Sure.
I know Jamisa's probably got it up on the.
She does.
I am so sorry, Jamise, for not putting you in at the beginning and letting people know that once again Jamise is behind the camera doing everything that if I couldn't do this show if Jamise wasn't coming in. And so Jamise is in here looking all sexy.
Yes, she is.
So can you tell the people the number that they can reach you on?
Please, you can call me directly at 682-412-7537. If you don't use your cell phone and you need a toll-free number, that's available. Call 877-524-9295. That's Senior Insurance Brokers. Make sure you ask for me. My name again is Christina Bowman, because if you don't, you might get another agent, not me, if that's who you want to work with.
Okay. So tell them who they need to call again. Christina what?
Christina Bowman.
Okay, there's no middle name, there's no nothing.
You don't know. If you say Christina Bowman, you just say Christina at my office. They know me.
Trust me, they'll know who she is, because her laugh is very, very infectious. You know what I mean? So Christina, I just want to say thank you for coming on to our show. I'm going to ask you one question that was on your paperwork, right? How do I contact you if I want a no-cost consultation?
A no-cost consultation is for anyone. So if you've been sitting here today and you're like, you know what, I may already have a plan that I picked out in years past, which again is important to check. Is there something that may be more beneficial now? You know, it doesn't hurt. It is a no-cost consult. You don't pay me a cent. If you decide that you want to do business with one of the plans that I offer, I then become your agent of record, which means I'm going to be the one to help take care of you going forward. If you have a problem, a plan, if you need information, you don't have to go through an 800 number. You call me direct. All my clients have my direct cell number, because I don't feel anybody should have to sit for 40 minutes, an hour on the phone on hold.
I'm telling you, because even 5 minutes with that, some of those music is enough to drive you
Drives me crazy.
off your head. I think that's why they do it.
It's not good customer service,
No.
and I want my relationship with my clients. I want them to know I'm available. I may not be able to call you back immediately if I have an appointment. I'm sitting there with a client, but I'm always going to call you back.
You know what I mean? So please reach out to Christina. I know Jamise has probably put her number up on the screen so you can give her a call. Christina is also on Facebook. You can reach her on Facebook also, and probably some of those social media platforms.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm not a huge social media person.
Well, so you are, oh please.
I'm not. I know, I need to, I do need to be more, but I spend my time literally in my clients' homes. So during annual enrollment, I usually will work a lot of 13-hour days, and I'm just sitting there. I can go into a client's home. If they have a lot of questions, I'll give you one example. I had an appointment 2 weeks ago, brand new to Medicare, had a ton of questions. I told them, look, since you're new to Medicare, I know you're gonna have questions. Give me 2 hours at least. I got there, we spent 2 hours. It turned into almost 3.5 hours because of all their questions. He goes, anybody else would have left a long time ago, but you sat through it and you answered. He goes, and I was so confused before this started, but I'm not anymore. I will, if it takes that, I have the patience to work with you until we figure it out. So you can make what choice, what's best for you.
Okay, so you know, we're almost coming to the end of the show, but I wanted to ask you, open enrollment is getting ready to happen next month. Are there big changes that's happening? I know you can't.
Yeah, legally I'm not allowed to speak about it until October the 1st.
Okay.
But the big thing is, yeah, you're always, every enrollment season, you're gonna hear hype. You're gonna hear it. The question is it the right hype or not?
So let me go into my last question. You see what she just did. Let's go into our last question. What does Don't Believe the Hype Show mean to you?
It means take your time. Get an agent that you can depend on, that you trust, that will spend quality time with you to make sure that you understand why you're making the choice that you're making. Don't make your decision in a 5-minute, 10-minute phone call. Get somebody that you can trust.
So I said that was my last question, but say if somebody locked into a plan and then realized after they did that plan it was not the right plan for them.
Okay.
Because something happened and they says, oh no, is there a 30-day cooling off period?
So, that's a really good question that a lot of people don't know. During annual enrollment, people make choices and selections. January, February, they come around. I've gotten phone calls and from clients that said, please come fix me, straighten me out. Somebody really messed me up. I literally got that call. There are some special enrollment periods, again, that we talked about earlier. And normally for Advantage plans, especially if you made an Advantage plan selection, if you said, oh, you know, I chose a PPO, but I wish I would have done an HMO, or I made an HMO and want a PPO, there's a window of a special enrollment period. So there can be. So don't hesitate. Always call your agent, me, whoever you're working with, and ask them, is there some way that we can make a change now? Or if not, because here, I'll give you another example. When we had all the fires and things like that, Medicare gave some special enrollment periods for people who couldn't make decisions because of the fires and the impacts and things. So there's sometimes enrollment periods will pop up that we're not even aware of are going to pop up.
Okay.
So always reach out to someone, because you may not have to stick with that plan for the full year if you're working with the right person who knows what enrollment periods they have, what special enrollment periods you may qualify for. If they're not asking you questions and they just tell you wait till January or you know, your next enrollment season in October, I would find somebody who's going to take time with you to ask you the right questions.
Christina Bowman, and you can reach her on the cell number, because I'm 60, so I'm not taking no brain booze, not yet. Reach Christina if you have any questions about the open enrollment that's getting ready to happen in October.
Annual enrollment.
Annual.
Annual is in October.
Yeah.
Open is in actually January to March. There is a difference.
Oh, okay. So now I didn't know this. So what is it?
So annual enrollment is the yearly selection time that is from the 15th of October through December 7th.
Okay.
So you've made your selection. Open enrollment period is a special enrollment period that is from January to the end of March only. And it is for people who've made poor choices, bad decisions, or maybe got switched without permission. Oh yeah, that happens too. Then you can make and have a special enrollment to make a change or something like that. And let me throw in one more curveball. If you have a Medicare supplement plan, each year that rate goes up. If you haven't looked at getting it re-rated, check with somebody, because I tell all my clients, look at re-rating it every 5 years while you're healthy, because it's based off of health. You may get to that point where you can't get it and drop it down anymore. I have walked into homes, and it's sad, where people are telling me they're paying $400 or $500 a month to keep their Medicare supplement because they never re-rated it.
Yeah.
Their agent, because it was a captive agent, meaning they didn't have other companies to select, they just told them, stick there, don't ever let anybody switch you. Me, I tell all my clients, all right, well, let's see where we can switch you to now after 5 years to get your rate back lowered again. So, and that you can do even year round. Most people think you have only that window that people do for Advantage, but that is not true. You can do Medicare supplemental year round.
This is a lot.
It is a lot.
And I'm only 60 years old. So if I find this overwhelming, imagine somebody 65, 70, 80, 90, because people are living longer, who don't know about all these open enrollments and all what's taking place and all the new changes, and an agent is just telling them, oh, that's okay, just stick with that, because at the end of the day, that agent doesn't want to do the hard work. That technically, that's what it is. And if they don't feel they need to do the hard work, and they're causing detriment to you, because at the end of the day, you see the rates are increasing in the world right now. You see what's going on. People are struggling. That is why you need to make sure you go out there and you find the right agent for you. I don't just bring anyone onto my show. I make sure I vet these people before they come onto my show, that they know exactly what they're talking about. And when I realized that open enrollment was coming up, I said to Christina, because when she's ready, trust me, this woman will talk and talk and talk about her passion. This is not just her doing a 9-to-5 job. This is Christina's passion. This is her ministry that God has blessed her with. And that was why I said, I need you on my show, because I know you're going to do good by everyone that you come in contact with. Expect her to talk a little bit, but that's okay. But you know that she's going to be doing the right thing by you. Not just by you, because it's also about doing the right thing by all your family members and your loved ones. And that is what it's about. And that's why I asked Christina once again to come onto our show today. October is only a throne's stone away. Before you know it, everything is done and dusted, and everybody's going to be coming out of the woodwork just like a spider nest. Do me, come to me, come to me, come to me. Make sure you do your do whatever the big fancy word is. I don't even
Diligence.
know why I try to use a big fancy word when I know I cannot pronounce all these big fancy words. Make sure that you going to read all the fine print, because sometimes what the big print gives you, the small print takes away. So Miss Christina, I would like to tell you thank you for coming on to our show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Is there anybody, any questions, Jamise?
No questions. Diana wanted to thank you guys for this good information.
My pleasure.
So please tune in 2 weeks' time. I don't know who I'm going to get on my show, because it depends on who God says it bring in. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Don't Believe the Hype show. Have a wonderful and blessed day. And remember, today is North Texas Day of Giving. Please just show our organization a little bit of love. And if you read my post, you'll see why I'm not going to be doing a hard sell, because I'm not going to do that, because at the end of the day, it's whatever God impress upon your heart. So I have a wonderful and blessed week, and thank you, Jamise, for manning the cameras and making sure our show goes out on a fortnightly basis. Thank you, Miss Christina, for coming in and sharing all these nuggets about open enrollment and Medicare and Obamacare, because at the end of the day, we all need some TLC.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful and blessed week. Is there anything you would like to say?
Just thank you so much for the opportunity. You know, it's kind of funny, because I think I've mentioned this to you when you asked me to come tonight, that this week my pastor was talking about how God presents us opportunities to put us outside of our comfort zone. And so I was like, okay, there's a little sermon. And then I had a fortune cookie. And I don't believe in those, but I think God speaks in us through different means. And it says a big opportunity will come. And then Monday morning, you asked me, will I do this? And the first thing in my mind was, I thought of everything I could say to not do. And I said, no, Lord, you're already talking to me. Tell me I have to do this. So in obedience, I'm here. So it's my ministry.
Yeah, it's all about being obedient. And that's why I do what I do here. It's all about listening to Him, being obedient, because then He will do the overflow.
Yeah, if you're obedient in what you do, He will bring the right people at the right time, the right place. And that's what it's about. It's a ministry. It's not. I'm not just an agent, an insurance agent. I don't like to be identified as that. It's about a ministry that I do for my clients.
So thank you once again for coming on to our show today.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful and blessed week, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Battery Council and guests from 6:30 p.m. Thursdays fortnightly.
Don't Believe the Hype Show. Don't believe the hype. Don't. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype show.
Every Thursday, fortnightly.
For news, views, reviews, and more.
Join host Barry Kelso and guests from 6:30 p.m. Thursdays, fortnightly.
Don't believe the hype show. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype show.
Every Thursday, fortnightly.
For news, views, reviews, and more.